Okay, close your eyes and get comfortable. Get that last text message out. They're waiting. You might want to put your cell phone on mute, just in case, or on vibrate. Turn it off, actually. It's a better idea. Excellent. Take a deep breath in. Another deep breath in. Feel your body. See if you can notice your awareness. See if you can notice something that's not your body, not your emotions, not your mind, but an awareness of all of them. Feel your feet. Feel your hands. Feel your head, outside, inside. Notice your breathing. See if you can notice your breathing without controlling your breathing. It's an interesting trick to be aware of your breathing without controlling it. It brings awareness. It brings insight. It shows you how challenging it is to dance with what is so, to dance with what is already happening. Our tendency is to either want to control it or let it do its own thing. Noticing your breathing and not interfering is excellent practice for creating a successful life. Now let's intentionally take a deep breath in and hold it at the top. And as we pause, notice how the mind pauses. And then with intention, consciously and slowly let your breath out. And hold it at the bottom. And as you pause, notice how your mind pauses. Excellent. Now take your hand off the wheel of your breathing. Notice it. And now create a picture in your mind of a future time. A time when you have created success in a key area of your life, physically, emotionally, logically, inside, outside. Some key area of your life. Now notice yourself in the picture. Notice what you look like. Notice the ways that you look different. Notice your posture. Notice your breathing. Notice your thoughts in that picture. See the expression on your face. Now make the picture bigger and brighter and more vibrant. And now flip a switch and notice it moving. And realize that any picture you make is a snapshot of something that's alive. The picture isn't real. It's just a moment in time. When you reach it, you're going to move right through it. There's something on the other side, something even better. As soon as you've enjoyed that vision fully, Just come back to now, open your eyes, feeling wide awake, clear-headed, and ready for more learning. Those are the basic tools. There they are. If we use those in other areas of our life, we wake up in the moment, direct our attention, use the power of our mind to notice what is so, allow it, co-create with it, and then use our minds to vision, can change our reality. Now you'll notice in this exercise that we did something slightly different than we've done the last 2 times we've done this, and that is that we made the picture and then we animated it. We turned it on and we realized, oh, that's just a snapshot. Frozen images are not the way things really are. And that there's something on the other side of success. That whatever we thought success was is just a frozen snapshot image that's not really the way anything is. That only minds can do snapshotting and freezing. Now that's a very valuable skill to have, is to be able to create a picture in your mind or get an idea of what something is. It's an incredible power that we developed over millennia, over tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions and millions of years. But just like many of our other superpowers were designed for a time that doesn't exist, that we're in a high-speed supersonic jet accelerating away from faster and faster, that particular skill can be both a blessing and a curse. Okay, it can help us, but it can also trap us. And so what we're going to talk about right now is the concept called reanimating. Reanimating. And in that visualization exercise, we did an example of it. We took the vision, the picture that we made, and then we turned it on. It's like we had a video that was playing that we pressed pause. What most of us don't realize is that most of the ideas we have in our head, most of the thoughts that we use, they're movies that the pause button has been pressed. And we're moving them around in our head, thinking that that's the way they really are. But we've forgotten that they're animated, they're moving, they're alive. When you freeze something in your mind, and then you operate it in your mind, and then you go out into reality and you try to change things in reality, you get some funny results because your map is not like the one, because your map is not like reality out here. It's further away, it's not closer. But when you have a mind that conceptualizes in the moving videos, in the moving, alive, breathing ideas, and you work with those, and then you come out here into reality, the map and the reality are closer. They're closer to each other. Okay, so remember this? This is a snapshot. This here has something a little more dynamic about it. This one feels like it's moving. And really, if we were to get down to the fine detail of this one, right, what I might do is I might kind of draw some streamers coming off of these to imply that they're moving. And this one too. They're moving. They're alive. Nothing survives being thought. Unfortunately, I don't remember where that quote is from, but it's brilliant. I think it was in one of Jed McKenna's books. Right? Nothing survives being thought. The thought kills it, in a certain sense. We freeze it. It's like taking a snapshot of something and then thinking that that snapshot is the real thing. In a way, you've killed the picture. Does this make sense to you? So what we need to do is use the power of our mind to change our mind, to make our map a little more accurate. And everywhere that there was a snapshot, we need to put a movie. We need to reanimate it. So we're going to use a technique right now that comes from neurolinguistic programming called denominalization. Denominalization. And a nominalization is when we take a process and we freeze it and we turn it into a noun. When we take something like the process of thinking and we say something like thought, the shortcut is something that Wyatt taught me. Nominalization is an abstract noun that you can't touch, taste, smell, see. You can't take it and put it in a basket and carry it with you. Okay, whereas a bicycle, you can. Thought, you can't. Now, some of the more dangerous nominalizations where we've frozen reality are the important concepts we're talking in this program. Okay? Success, failure. One of Wyatt and I's favorites is the word problem. Problem's a particular bitch in life because whereas with success, there was a process that came before it called succeed. Succeeding. So we can create an abstract noun called success. So when we denominalize success, we say, okay, succeeding. We can make it back into a process. Fail. Failing. We can make it into the process again, which is more the way reality is. But with problem, there was no process before it. We humans somehow made the leap over the process and created this concept called problem. But we don't have a word called probleming. So how do you problem? And more importantly, how do you get out of it in your head? Because when a human says, I have a problem, I have a problem, if there was no process that got them there, then there's no route out. And humans, we believe in these things. We actually believe that something like problem exists. And we don't know that it's just an idea that we made up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new verb, new process called to problem or probleming. You follow? What's the biggest nominalization, the biggest challenge that we have to reanimate in our minds? Any guesses? You knew this, didn't you? Admit it if you did. You just guessed it? That is a good guess. Most people don't get this one. Good one. Somebody give him a high five over there for me. All right. I. Or, kind of the outside objective view, me. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to reanimate right now. We're going to reanimate a couple of things. One, I would like you to look at your visions that you've come up with and see if you can find a word on there like success or health, because we're going to use those terms a lot in the program. What I want you to start doing is every time you hear an abstract noun, you recognize it and you say, okay, let me add the word ing to the end of it, or the word to the beginning of it. Okay, so I'm not just going to think of this thing called success, that's this frozen state that I'm going to get to. I'm going to realize that it's actually a process of success-ing. It's a process to success. And that picture that I had in the future of it, that's just a snapshot. It's like a slice of a brain that when I get there, I'm going to go right through it. And ideally, I'm going to be on a direction that's going to take me past that. And also, I'm going to wake up from the dream that if I get to the picture, everything will be okay. Because you know what? Right on the other side of that picture are going to be challenges. There are going to be other issues. You're going to be evolved. You're going to see things from a different perspective. I don't know anyone who keeps one thought in their mind for more than a few seconds at a time. I don't know anyone that feels the same emotion for more than a few minutes at a time. I don't know anyone that stays in the same physical state for more than, a few minutes, 10 minutes? It's going to be changing and evolving no matter what, so we might as well deal with it now, and then when we get through the picture, we're going to go right through it. So, look at your visions, see if you can find one where you've got an abstract noun. It's a snapshot word. It's a frozen word. Okay, a word like health or success or wealth. Find one that's meaningful and where you can see that you thought that this was something you were going to get to, and bam, it was going to be done. And that's going to be your first one that you're going to denominalize in your head, and you're going to ask, how is this a process, and how does this process work? What are some of the dynamics of the process? And what are some of the other elements in the system that bring this thing to life? And then you're going to do the same thing with the word I. I. What I'd like you to do is come up with 2 new words that reanimate, that re-inject life into these ideas in your mind. So when you say the words, anyone listening says, oh, okay, I get it. It's a process now and it's alive. And then I want you to tell me about the process. What are some of its characteristics? How does it change over time? What's it like to be alive as that concept or that entity? Okay, we're just going to take about 7 minutes or so to do this exercise. Okay, about 7 minutes. And 5 to 7 minutes. We're just reanimating. reanimating one of your visions that was a frozen idea, and reanimating I. Go. Okay, good. Here's what you're going to do. You're just going to do this one real quick, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds apiece. You're going to turn to your neighbor, and you're going to say, okay, here were my frozen abstract nouns. Here's how I denominalized them, and then you're going to switch. Okay, not a lot of discussion. Okay, 30, 60 seconds apiece. Go. You may have put the puzzle pieces together and already figured out that if you're trying to think in systems, you'd better be thinking about the components moving and interacting with each other, and that thinking with frozen thoughts isn't going to get you there, right? Who had a good insight, be willing to share from that exercise? All right, we got one here, one here. I need one from this side. All right, this gentleman.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Zane, originally from China, right now in Iowa. And
What made you choose Iowa?
because I think it's a lot of corns and natural.
You say a lot of corn? A lot of corn, and because it's natural?
No, no, just joking. They got the University of Iowa gave me the offer, so I was.
Oh, okay. You're going to school there. Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. I was going to say, I can just imagine like him out there in the big cornfields going, oh, I love all this nature.
Oh, that's get me more close to the reality.
Yes, exactly. Okay, tell me what you came up with there, Zane.
When I try to denominalize the words abstract, I found I've already kind of my words is already kind of getting to the process. But even though we are trying to put the abstract words into a process, it's closer to the reality, but it's still a map. We usually just put our energy on the words like, I need to do that business, I need to be success. Then our energy is stuck at the words. We didn't get into this. We didn't flow our energy into a real process.
Yeah.
So this exercise helped me to process the energy into get out of the words into process. But even more, I think we need to get it into the energy, into our real life.
Yeah.
That's more important than just writing. It's get the energy into real life. And another insight is when you said denominalize I. That's what I learned from the Tao Te Ching, the Chinese wisdom, is that when you have I, then the first principle in Tao Te Ching is like, when you speak, when you think, you lost the reality, you lost the truth. And I'm thinking, and in Tao Te Ching, I think he will say, there is no I, just forget it, just be in the world and be natural. And then you will just forget yourself. And yeah, that's I'm thinking how to incorporate this into my own process and reality.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not an expert on the distinction between Eastern and Western culture, but one of my understandings is that kind of Eastern culture, this is just part of the culture, is more dynamism. It's more dynamic. And listening to you talk, you don't talk like most of the people that I know. And it's very refreshing. Right? His insight of, we can't just stop at the word, we got to go all the way up to the real thing. Right? That's very, very important. Remember this, insight is an emergent. It's always more than one element. And insight isn't a thing, it's a process. So you're actually insight-ing. It's to insight. And when you do the things that allow insights to emerge, they start emerging more and more and more.
Hi, I'm Jim from St. Paul, Minnesota. And when I went to the I frankly, it scared the crap out of me because I realized that my eyeing is the process of making up a bunch of concepts focused on capturing an infinite, indestructible, indescribable being in a description that makes that being feel safe, predictable, and in control, with the belief that those feelings will somehow make life better, whatever the hell that is.
We might just, you know what, I think we're done. Yeah, that's a good one. You know, this thing that you got here, even if we just take kind of the physical reality, this body, this system you got here, this is the best that nature can produce. It is the most adaptable, hardest to kill. You can't, I mean, people that try to commit suicide can't even kill themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? It's incredible how resilient this thing is. And we can pretty much deal with anything that comes up. And then what we do is we make a picture of it, and we try to get this self-image to make ourselves feel more comfortable and more safe. Instead of realizing, I got the best equipment. I can just let it do its thing. It knows how to breathe. Probably knows how to do most other things that would, you know, get me out of trouble if I needed it. That's a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm David from San Diego, and I've caught myself in this cycle of conceptualization and have had these blocks on not being legitimate enough to actually launch and do the business and the process that I was trying to get into. So trying to build a business integrating fitness and health into along the lines of Tony Schwartz and the Power and Full Engagement, try to make it an integrated process instead of just piling fitness and health on top of what you're already doing. And I found myself not being fit enough and not being healthy enough and not being strong enough to feel legitimate to go and teach people. And I found out that, just now that it's not about being strong, it's about doing strong. It's about fitting, it's about healthing, it's about doing it instead of being it.
Awesome. And it's about businessing.
Yep. Yep.
It is, because businesses have shorter and shorter life cycles now, and products do, and everything's becoming more about reinventing, right? A corporation is considered an entity, which implies that it's alive.
And if I may, it's environmenting as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, quick. Turn to the person next to you, tell them what your insight was. We're learning mind tools to create success. Mind tools to create success. We're going to learn several of them, so keep the attention going.
So the next mind tool to create success is what we call chunking down. So chunking is not Chinese frozen food. It's a way of decomposing things into their parts. And that we can chunk down, and as we chunk down, we get more specific, we get more precise, we get more specified. As we chunk up, we get more vague, we get more general, we get more the big picture. And that one of the things that is critical then, if we really want to create and manifest a vision with the mind, is we need to make that vision as specific as possible. If our vision is vague, what we get is vague. The universe responds to us, but the universe responds to details. The universe doesn't respond to the big, vague picture. Because the vague picture, there's so many different things that could satisfy it, the universe doesn't know where to go. But the more specific. So a lot of the New Age thinking will start with a vision, and then every day you spend like 15 or 20 minutes adding more and more detail so you can see it more and more clearly. You need a concrete picture. If you don't have a concrete picture, then it's vague, it's general. One of the challenges is that most of the time, or a lot of the time, a lot of people spend their life in vagueness. Now, they spend their life looking at the big picture. They've got a general idea, but they don't have a specific idea. And because they've got a general idea, nothing manifests, nothing comes into being. The devil is in the details. Now, I realize there are many people don't like to chunk down. Many people find being specific, being tangible, being concrete, that those are things that your whole life has been spent avoiding because you'd rather live in the clouds than with your feet on the ground. And this is preventing you from using your mind in order to create success. Because if you've got a vague notion of success, then what you're going to get is vague success. If you've got a concrete, specific notion, then that's what you're going to get. Eben, one of the things he does frequently in his other programs is he will critique people's online websites. And the first thing he always starts with is people come on their website, who is your customer? And of course the response is everyone. Well, if your customer is everyone, then your customer is no one. And so the problem is then who specifically is your customer? And then people make claims that are general and vague, and we live in a world in which we've become used to simply ignoring whatever is general and vague. What is general and vague does not position you with respect to your competition. To get a positioning, you've got to chunk down. You've got to chunk down. Eben's greatest frustration in life is getting people around him and people he works with to chunk down to the specifics. So what are some of the tools that you use to chunk down to the specifics? You use language. And so you've got words. When somebody tells you something, then you've got certain questions you want to ask. Who specifically? What specifically? Where specifically? When specifically? Why specifically? How specifically? Specifically, specifically, specifically. Specifically allows us to move down. It allows us to get to the details. And if we don't get to the details, then we're always going to be living in la-la land. And if that's where you want to continue to live, then certainly that's your choice. But if you really want to use your mind in order to create success, then it's going to be necessary to be precise, to be specific, to chunk down, to make distinctions. What happens is that in any type of description, we delete certain amounts of information. And so the question is, what is it we're focusing on? So what we're focusing on is we've got to be able to make a concrete image. So the general test, what we'll call later an evidence procedure, as to whether your vision is sufficiently specific, is do you have a concrete picture? Or do you have a concrete movie? Or do you just have, which is what you don't want, a hazy, fuzzy image, and a general idea of what you want rather than a specific idea? There's all this stuff out there on the law of attraction. So what does the law of attraction respond to? It responds to a detailed image that you add more and more detail continually. So if you want to use the mind to create success, you got to start with the vision, but you got to make the vision in a particular form. It's got to be precise. It's got to be detailed. It's got to be specific. And you need to keep adding detail and keep adding specificness. Lazarus, who's a disembodied who knows what, anyway, says that there are three things in order to manifest your own reality. First is you got to imagine it. You got to imagine it in detail. You got to be specific. Most of the spiritual schools start, if you want to change reality, you've got to be very specific and very clear. You've got to have a clear, concrete picture. And then you've got to get emotionally engaged in it. Now, clarity of the picture helps with emotional engagement. If we've got a vague, wishy-washy idea of what we want, it's hard to get motivated. If we've got a specific, tangible concrete idea of what we want, then that's what allows us to get motivated. So if we're going to add the heart responds to specificity. The heart doesn't respond to generality, or if it does, it responds in a general way. We need focused awareness, focused attention. And then Lazarus says you have to expect it. Now, in order to expect it, once again, you've got to have the details, and you've got to live as if that's going to happen. So this is the second mind tool that we're going to be working with. It's chunking down, it's being specific, it's being tangible, it's taking that vision and asking who specifically, where specifically, why specifically, when specifically, how specifically, what specifically, and making sure that the specific is tangible, concrete. When we can do that, now we create images in ourselves that begin to attract reality to us.
I want you to say the word specifically 10 times fast. Go. Anyone make it? Without screwing up? That's pretty good. Specifically. Specifically. Specifically, 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 specifically. Have it be a whisper into your right ear. Hear it specifically. Tell me specifically. Tell me something that will indicate what you're trying to communicate clearly, specifically. Specifically. Not abstractly, specifically. When we learned about good mountain and bad mountain, we learned about how we generalize, how we become more abstract and less specific. Down here in the foothills, this is where real stuff happens, like sex, food, affection, the emotion that we're feeling of love or excitement, the mental experience of clarity. On the negative side, wounds, hunger, the emotions of shame, guilt, terror, the mental experience of confusion, overwhelm. Go up one level, we get pleasure, happy, makes sense over here. Go up a level, we get pain, fear, doesn't make sense. We go up another level, we get good, bad. If we go down a level, we get more specific, more clarity. Our visions, our communication, the way that we begin to conceptualize in the future, we need to get more specific. We already know how to do this. We need to get more specific. And as we become more specific, this actually gets clearer and more effective as well. So it's not just sex, it's sex with who, when, how, specifically. It's not just food, it's what food, when, how did it taste, what picture came to mind when you were eating it. Got me? It's not affection. I didn't just get touched by the other person. Where? How? What was the pressure? What was the movement? Specifically. So here's the exercise. Take one of your visions, okay, from our previous visioning exercise, where we had visions and conditions. Okay, from our inevitability exercise. Take one of your visions, ideally a different one than you chose for the last exercise. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take the vision and make it specific. Make some element of it that's abstract, that's something like pleasure or hunger or any of this stuff up here is not very specific. But at least down here we're getting to the real thing before it's been abstracted. But even these things are abstracted. I want to go down a couple or a few levels. So take your vision and come up with something specific that would symbolize that vision. Instead of saying rich, say 4-bedroom home in Beverly Hills on Camden. You follow? That's specific. Right? And then you've got a condition that would have to be set. Make the condition specific. Something that's tangible, something very, very, very specific out here in the real world, a condition that would have to be set. You might have to force yourself on this one. Don't get too caught up in it. Just go. Just take your vision, make it specific. Take your condition and make it specific. Don't tell me you want to be in good aerobic shape. Tell me you want to be able to run a mile in 5 minutes and 59 seconds or faster. Don't tell me that you're going to start going to the gym. Tell me that at lunch you're going to get online, find the information about the gym, call up, sign up for the membership, give them your credit card number, and get the deal done. Tell me something specific and tangible.